everybody. I'm Alethea, the Para Youth Ambassador, and thank you very much for joining us for this webinar that is done in collaboration with the Global Peace Foundation. Today, we'll be talking about the intersection of peace, tourism, and youth. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're very happy to have our guest speakers, Michael and Thryza, join us as well. Next slide, please. So just to run through what we're going to do today, we're going to have a case study presented to us by Thryza, and then another case study presented to us by Michael. And these two case studies are here to really help us understand how peace and tourism intersect in reality, in everyday scenarios, and thus allowing us to understand these concepts in a more concrete format. After the case studies, we will be going into a panel discussion where you as the audience will also have the chance to ask us as panelists any questions, and we encourage you to use the Q&A function down below. So please send in your questions. You can do so during the case study presentations, and we will pick the questions to ask and answer during the panel discussion. The panel discussion is also an opportunity for us to dive a little bit deeper into the role that youth can play within the intersection of peace and tourism. Because sometimes we always feel that things like peace are so big and far beyond our grasp. But as youth, really, there's a lot that we can do right now as ourselves to be able to contribute to bringing about peace with tourism. And then we are slated to end in about 1 hour and 15 minutes time. So let's get started. So I want to first introduce Thryza, who is the CEO of Blink Ventures. Blink Ventures is a leading platform in Nepal for social entrepreneurs that provides visibility, resources, and impact tools. Apart from these online services, Blink Ventures also works with early stage businesses to help them create a roadmap to achieve their business goals through their incubation and training services. Thryza, thank you very much for joining us. Please take it away and let us hear your case studies and everything that you're up to.
Thank you, Al. Thank you so much for having me. I will jump into sharing my screen and my presentation right away. Just give me a second.
So while she's doing that, also everyone, please use the chat function to introduce yourself and say hi.
Hi, so I'm ready to start. My name is Thryza, like the tree that we see outside our homes, our offices, and I run a company called Blink Ventures. It's Blink with the C. I lead the company in Nepal, but I'm based in Mumbai. So apart from these fun facts about me, let's move on, and I will tell you a little bit more about my company. So Blink Ventures is an online platform for social entrepreneurs in Nepal. We started it in 2017 because of our very own problem of not being able to find these businesses online. So the first objective that we wanted to work on was create visibility for these entrepreneurs. And in 2017, we started working on it by interviewing social businesses and showcasing their stories on our online platform, on social media. At the same time, we also started collaborating with other organizations who were finding it difficult to find these businesses. So we increase visibility for them. And apart from that, we create a lot of resources for entrepreneurs because most of our social entrepreneurs are in the startup stage. So we cater specifically to them right now. We create tools, we create templates, which are online. We also do a podcast. We run online training programs, and we also do incubation services, which are once in a year, periodic, depending on the need of the sector. We also dive into conversations about impact and keep the dialogue going of why focusing on impact is also crucial while you're building businesses. So that's what we do. That's an overview of what we do, but these are 4 main programs that we have. So we started Blinkubator last year, which was a business, like a business training program for early stage social businesses with a proven model. And these businesses had to be in the space of environment, climate change, waste management, urban infrastructure, or tech-driven green initiatives. So these were our target audience, and they were very need-based. I mean, the content was driven by the needs of the entrepreneurs. Then this year we started something called as Training with Trailblazers to take care of the daily or the day-to-day problems of entrepreneurs, like where do I design collaterals for my business? How can I document my expenses without having to buy like a software, or without hiring a person? Or how do I get a free website for my business? How do I hire people and retain them? Like just day-to-day problems that startup founders like face. These are solved by these bi-monthly trainings. They are done with like a cozy group of 12 people and one expert that have deeper interactions with them. Apart from that, during COVID-19, we started a podcast to deal with the dynamic business environment that many small businesses and startups were not really prepared to face. And we started having conversations with local and international experts to help entrepreneurs navigate these difficult situations and figure out what entrepreneurs can do. So whether it's finance, whether it's managing people, whether it's reducing your increasing your financial runway, or reducing your expenses, or how to deal with the existing products, or how to modify your business model to suit this current situation. So these are some of the topics that we sort of covered in our podcast. And the last program that is still going on is Udemy Ui Challenge, and I will be speaking a little bit more deeply about it towards after my case studies actually. And this is with Global Peace Foundation Nepal, and it was part of the conference on peace, environment, and tourism, which was supposed to happen. And we finished the boot camp, and we are still doing some trainings based on what the entrepreneurs need. So like, for example, tomorrow we have a training on how to build your website with like very little cost. Then we have something on product pricing, then we have something on taxation, then we have something on pitch deck. So yeah, so this is going on. And now I will jump to the case studies. And I don't have one, I have two case studies of entrepreneurs, of businesses that are far ahead of, are far mature. They have been around for at least a decade, and they have a beautiful intersection of tourism and sustainability. So let's dive in. So the first case study is about Grassroots Journeys. It's a social enterprise. It's an award-winning social enterprise, and they have got many, many awards. But the notable awards is the National Tourism Awards that they got in 2017, where the government actually acknowledged their contribution. And the second one was given by Outlook for responsible tourism. They have a very beautiful model of tourism and sustainability. So they work on the main problem of urban and rural divide, where the rural population of India, which is huge, which is 67%, is completely disconnected from the urban areas. And there is distress migration due to lack of opportunities of livelihood in rural areas. This puts a lot of pressure on the economy. This puts a lot of pressure on the urban areas, because people migrate to the urban areas and they work as unskilled laborers. So there is infrastructural issues, there is huge competition, there is political unrest, or not. Like when there's regional migration, people don't feel good. They feel that somebody else is coming to our place using our infrastructure. And also because we are modernizing ourselves so much in urban areas, we are completely losing our local culture, our traditions. And the weird part of it is that the proximity of the rural area is very, very close to the urban location. For example, I live in Mumbai, so the closest rural, like when I say rural, it means like a place which does not have, say, well developed roads for a car to move around. It's only 100 kilometers away, but there is such a huge disconnect that you can't imagine that this place exists just 100 kilometers away. There might be no electricity penetration, but there would be mobile phones for sure. There would be no good schools, but there would be I mean, it's a different place altogether. You don't feel like you're in the same state. So these are the problems that Grassroots Journeys solve, and their model is beautiful because they do not disrupt the place. They don't go and build a hotel or a resort where they create an aloof environment for the visitors. They create a system which is completely inclusive for the rural area, for the rural community. And they work with gram panchayat, they work with the village community members, and the onus or the ownership of the tourism lies completely on the villagers. The whole process takes a year, and because it is so intensive, because they train people on being guides, on women cooking good food for the tourists, the whole process takes a lot of time, but the impact is deep and it's long lasting. So yeah, so this is what Grassroots does, and I'll speak about their services. So in retail, which is individuals who are going for like a short trip, they have 1 day to overnight stays, and people can go and stay for weeks. People who are want to do like internal reflections, or want to spend time with themselves, or want to take a break and want to just figure out life, generally find these places to be like a good place to, to disconnect themselves, not have any social media barriers, not have any internet, and they just go and relax and do their thing. So that's one thing that they offer as retail. And in part of that, they also do a lot of traditional events, seasonal event, cultural events. They involve the tourist in the festivals that are celebrated. So that's what they do, and the effort is to keep the culture, to keep the traditions alive, and to familiarize the urban population with what the rural areas have to offer. So that's one area. Apart from that, they work with multiple corporates for two aspects. One is they host a lot of management trainees for rural induction programs. These management trainees come from FMCG, banking, like various fields. This brings an introduction to the future leaders about what the rural life is all about. Now, these guys in future, they will also be decision maker when it comes to sourcing raw material or creating products for the rural communities. So if 67% of the population of India lives in the rural areas, there are products that are designed for them, and there are raw materials or resources that are taken from the community. So when you stay with them, you realize what is important for these communities. Like, for example, you do this participatory rural appraisal exercise where you map the whole village. While you're speaking to the villagers, you'll realize that wells are very important for them, the mountains are very important for them, the temples are very important for them. So if you say take a lot of water from them and their wells water level drops, you know that you're going to create a huge problem for them. They're not going to be happy about it, and you will end up destroying a community. So when you get this insight by living among them, you sort of become a better leader, and you take decisions that are good. And this is very innate, like you don't have to study a lot about it. When you connect with rural communities, you automatically become a little responsible, a little protective about it. And these are changes that you really see when people actually enter the community and when they step out. Like, you can see their perspective is changing. And another thing that from the community side happens is, because people come and stay in their homes, in their villages, there is a huge change in the day-to-day work that they do. So because they cook like a whole meal, like a whole menu for their tourists, the women in the household end up feeding their kids highly nutritious food, which means better health for these kids. Because they have these young people coming into their villages, there are more role models. Now, the role models is not being a farmer or being a teacher or being a postman. It is about being a software engineer, becoming a celebrity, becoming a writer, becoming a photographer. So that's a very indirect change. And when women who are cooking food and serving see these tourists, and when she get the money, she takes better decisions for her life, because now she has more power when it comes to decision making for the household. So overall, it has very good impact on both the community that is welcoming the guest and the guests who are coming and getting familiarized with the community. So this is Grassroots Journeys, and they work with 4 states. They work with the government. They work with 15 villages, and they have till now impacted 500 rural families. There is 25% reduction in distress migration because of the job opportunities that they make available for the rural areas in the form of guides, in the form of people hosting, for food, for cleaning, for cleaning. So all these things create like a lot of employment in these rural areas. So yeah, this is Grassroots Journeys, and I will quickly move on to my next case study, which is from Nepal. It's called the Summit International Leadership Academy. It's this organization sits in a very beautiful spot of intersection between youth, education, and tourism. What they do is they provide training for young people in Nepal and from across the world. And they have many good programs in terms of leadership, then becoming guides, then hosting outdoor trainings, outdoor activities. So they have a bunch of trainings. But the unique factor about this company is that they integrate responsibility, community engagement, and connection to nature in all their programs. So when you are learning about how to organize an outdoor program for your customers or clients, you're also thinking about how to minimize your own your own minimize the effect of your own activities. So this is something that they have integrated in all their programs, and they try to not only reduce the negative impact of their business, but also try to do activities that increase their positive impact as part of the community stakeholder. They have trained more than 200 Nepali students, and these students are now working across 15 different countries. And they have trained more than 110 international students who are either working in tourism industry or have started their own businesses in the tourism sector. So what do they offer? They offer vocational education and outdoor tourism. And when I say vocational tourism, it includes leadership, expedition management, outdoor sustainability, guide skills, safety and rescue, rafting, kayaking. So all of these, photography, those kind of things. And they also offer research focused on sustainability, and they offer short-term courses and internship on photography, cross-cultural cooperation, all of that. Apart from that, as part of their own, giving back to the community that they work with, they conduct many activities like restoring forests, river cleanups, renewable energy, organic farming. So these are also integrated in their own training programs, as well as they do it when the guests are not there, like when their students are not in the picture. Like right now, when they had no students, they were focusing on their organic farms and they were focusing on community engagement. So those are the kind of things that they do even when it is off season for them. So these are my 2 case studies where these 2 organizations have very beautifully integrated sustainability in their own business model. And now I would take you like a decade back and talk about what organizations who are just starting out look like when they are on their path of, tourism and sustainability interaction. Yeah. So these are, I'm going to talk about 4 organizations who are part of our Udemy Ui challenge. 2 of them are slightly ahead in this journey, and 2 of them are in idea stage. So the first organization that I want to talk to you about is On the Road Food Truck. Now it is a very interesting model because this is food truck that is integrating hygienic and sustainable, delicious, healthy food by being very environmentally conscious. Like they plan to have solar panels for their electricity. They plan to have, giveaway bags, which are, takeout bags, which are made of paper. They intend to use only seasonal products. That way, even though it is a brand that is moving around, it still is sustainable and it's not taking a lot from the environment while using the local producers, while using the seasonal producers and trying to meet the demand of of their audiences at that point of time. Not only this, they are planning to give a part of their sales to a social cause. So that's on the road food truck, which is the participants of UIC right now, for whom we are very excited. And Baja Nepal is a digital platform that is bringing musicians together. So if you know that in all countries right now, the folk music scene is sort of going down. Like we can't find the folk musicians for our traditional ceremonies. And that's exactly the problem that Baja Nepal is trying to solve. They're trying to get the musician on an online platform so that people can access them, and the culture and the folk music and the songs, the traditional songs and the traditional musical instruments still have like a longer life for them. It's a very beautiful concept which will help, and we truly believe that it will help creating the livelihood of the local musicians and connecting them to people who really need it for wedding ceremonies, for different kinds of religious programs, and keep the tradition alive and bring it back, basically make it more cool in some way. So these two organizations are like sort of in their, like they have a proof of concept. They have, you know, the Baja Nepal already has his musicians. Food truck has already gone through a cycle of creating a food truck for as a business. So they are in advanced stages of business, but these two organizations that I'm going to showcase next are in their idea stage. So Nepali Homes is like is a online platform again, but this is for you know, listing local homes to give an experience to tourists of what Nepali day-to-day life is. So typically when anybody goes to a place, they go to a hotel, they go to the tourist place, and they just go back home. But there is a huge disconnect with the community and the culture. So by staying in someone's home, you can actually see what these people eat on day-to-day basis. How do they do puja? How is their typical life like? And it brings you closer to the culture and community of the place that you're visiting. And that's the kind of experience that Nepali Homes wants to offer. And apart from that, they intend to offer experience-based packages and connect them to the local festivals, connect them to local cultural activities that are happening. And trust me, when it comes to Nepal or India, in that case, there has always something going on in terms of festivals or cultural celebration and things like that. It's a huge wealth which tourists or travelers don't get to enjoy. Explore Nepal again is a very innovative and interesting idea, where the founder wants to create an interactive game where a person anywhere from the world can actually experience the history of Nepal through its architectural and real political events, and can learn about Nepal before actually visiting the country in person. And it also will offer information about hotels, vehicle service station, other kinds of tourist information through its platform. So that's Explore Nepal. We are very excited about all the four organizations, and we'll see how it goes. This is my information. This is information about Grassroots Journeys and Summit International Leadership Academy if you want to find more about them. And yeah, that's that. I hope you enjoyed knowing these organizations.
Thank you so much, Thryza, for that amazing presentation with all those case studies crammed into one presentation in a short period of time. I think you did an excellent job in like sharing with us like business models that work for both like established and like just starting out. So that was amazing. Thank you so much. So up next, we have our next speaker, Michael. Michael is a Bangkok-based experience designer, blogger, tour guide, founder of Bangkok Vanguards, which is a small experience provider specializing in community and human-centric urban exploration in Bangkok. So Michael really wants to shift away from Bangkok's tourist attractions and instead explore and introduce you to places, people, and ideas that matter. He has just started a YouTube channel, Mike Explores, and creates stories for people to see Bangkok through human eyes and to help travelers support local economies and local causes when traveling. Thank you very much for joining us, Michael.
Hey, hey. Yo, thanks for inviting me, and hello everyone in the chat. I don't know how many people are watching, but I saw in the chat room already. It's quite international. We have visitors here from Nepal, Hong Kong, and yeah, I'm very excited. And I hope that through my presentation, I can add a little bit to the conversation and inspire you. Yeah, so to no further ado, I will switch right into my presentation and do the screen sharing. Just a moment, hold on a second. Share screen. And hold on, guys. We're almost there. All right, can you see it? All right, so yeah, as mentioned, my name is Michael Biedassek, or Michael Biedassek in German. I'm actually a quarter German, a quarter Polish, a quarter Chinese, and a quarter Thai. And today I'm here to share a little bit about my organization, which is called Bangkok Vanguards. And we are a travel operator here in Bangkok. And as many of you may be able to relate, we are going through the COVID-19 pandemic. And so that yeah, urges us to be creative and to be resilient and to shift our mindset away from what we've been used to doing. So when your whole business model suddenly breaks away, if you're a travel operator with no tourists, then you need to think, especially if you have a team that you're responsible for, so that yeah, it gets you in front of unprecedented challenges. And this case study today is something, it's still a work in progress that I want to share with you on how I and my team are addressing the current challenges. So the concept for us is basically to experience Thailand, or here, in this case, Bangkok, on a deeper level. And we have been doing this through tours, basically, or through experiences. And we don't position ourselves as a pure, let's say, food tour or biking tour or you know, walking tour. We have all these elements. But what is important to us is that we show you a side of the city that you won't necessarily find in the popular tour guide publications and or blogging websites. And it's also a journey from my end as, say, a half Thai, to explore my own roots. So I always had a different perspective on what I found to be compelling and interesting. So from what we've been doing very successfully for the past, I'd say, 6 years, showing people behind the scenes Bangkok, relies heavily on the design aspects of our experiences. So when we take people on a tour in our city, of course, it has to be creative and it has to be outside the box. It has to be personal and memorable and fun and adventures, because people are here also to relax and having a good time. But personally, when I do the tours, I start with my own family. So we are not going to restaurants, things like that. I would take people to my grandma's coconut farm, where we would have breakfast in our wooden hut. So that applies to many of our tours to be local and integrative. And this is one of the key aspects that we find is of value for both the travelers and for the locals. And of course, the way we approach it is, on one end, is holistic, and yet we have a very anthropological approach, because today, lots of people think, okay, tours are so boring, you know, like my mom or my dad, they go on tours. So the reputation of tours is often a little bit dusty. So I think that what, you know, often in a design experience lacks in a traditional sense of tourism is that the content and the context through which you bring people through your world, it's often very, yeah, how can you say, very, very predictable. And in Thailand, of course, you know, it's important to talk about the history and the kings and religion. But there is so much more room. I mean, you all come from different backgrounds. You all come from different maybe social layers and family backgrounds, and each of it, can be used as a context. And what I mean by that is that for us and our team, if you are into sustainable development, if anyone is involved in, supporting the SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, there can be one approach to our tours that relates to SDG 11, which is sustainable urban communities. And here in the pictures, you can see that you won't on our website see any pictures of the grand attractions to which we always try to attract visitors to Thailand, the reclining Buddha, or Wat Arun, or the Royal Palace, or the fancy beaches. We focus more on the small things, on what I call the magic of the ordinary, the day-to-day, because I believe that we can often relate more to the regular people than we do probably to ancient kings. But I don't want to, diminish the importance, of course, to have knowledge about, the grand scheme of things about your country. But I think we have to shed light a little bit more on the things that are often overlooked. And when it comes to peace building, I think peace building is often a human-to-human approach. So setting the context through, let's say, sustainable urban communities, what I mean with that is the heritage of local communities, the crafts, even the food, the recipes, the customs. They're all parts that have been evolving over centuries and that are still around, although we don't know for how much longer because of the priorities in economic development. So setting the context, let's say on ancient urban communities, the stories, the content itself, we get this from the people. So we explore the areas, but we're gonna shift down on the context through the eyes of the locals. So I have to admit, no, formal training in history or sociology or anthropology, but I have a very deep interest in people. I have a deep curiosity. So having curiosity being your guidance, can lead you into new spheres, into new ways of doing things. And I think when we experience Thailand, the things that stick with us are often the encounters with the people. So in this slide here, you see, for example, the man on the top left here, he is a Salapao or Bao, the Chinese steam bun makers. He is one of the last one, that do the traditional crafts in the fourth generation from his home, right? So it can be the Chinese migrants that have been here for many generations, or the woman next to it, a migrant from Laos, who opens like one of these illegal, liquor dens, like the Yadong bars, which, are part of the local way of life as well, because when you go to the fancy sky bars high on top of a rooftop, like a rooftop bar on the 40th floor, for one shot, let's say, of tequila or vodka, you get 36 shots at a bar like this. And the people, this woman, she serves it with the even more friendliness and integrity than any bartender in a fancy 5-star hotel. So, and this is what I love about the complexity and the beauty and the diversity of urban areas. And I can only speak on behalf of Bangkok, but I'm sure in your cities as well, there are so many stories and things to be explored. So that from whether it's the entrepreneurs, the migrants, or this gentleman, the craft people, the last blacksmiths, or even on the higher level, when we talk about context, I interview scientists, anthropologists, people who work with the UN, or people that are community leaders, civil society, and this all feeds into a product basically, because as tour guides, if you want to work in tourism, your strongest weapon is content. It's your knowledge and it's your connection with the people. And so this is, for me personally, the way you distinguish yourselves from other tour operators is how close are you and how connected are you on the ground to the areas where you take people to? What kind of behind the scenes insights can you deliver that are genuine, that are not staged, that are, based on, even humor, right? Going out and having you know, a fun time without taking yourself too serious. So these are things that our travelers, especially with our main market is Europe, appreciate very well, and that leads to a lot of word of mouth. And in the process of, you know, going into the communities and researching, this is content that as guides we deliver on a tour on a one-on-one basis. And the people that we know in the communities, some of which, you know, maybe, you know, our source for the content, but others we can co-create. Like this guy here in the center, you probably, some of you know him if you are into food and you watch YouTube. He's one of the biggest foodies out on YouTube. His name is Mark Wiens. And so Mark and my team and I, we've been designing experiences around food. So our expertise for local communities combined with this passion. And that's because our connection and the way we want to approach things is very much aligned with the values that he promotes. And that is to show you the small things, the small businesses. And that's why we align ourselves. So if you do what you're passionate about, you may attract people that are aligned with your values and they believe in what you're doing. And then you can go beyond and design new cooperations. So, but from the operational side, very quick. So we talked about left here is the content. So we have the context, we focus on the communities, the heritage, to which also food is part. Then we have a human-centric approach with the people. Now, when we come to the product, because all the time that you invest, you need to sustain yourself financially. And we've done so by offering tours, but now the experience, the tours itself, they fall by the wayside. So we don't know when they're gonna resume. So what we've been doing now, we've been working on digital products. And digital products means for us to bring the stories now more on in an online realm. So to shift our focus more on digital content creation. And how we do it without like being, oh God, you know, blaming the finger on the virus and everything is what is very important is that you have a mission, like a kind of like a sense of a purpose, you want to call it. So why are you doing the things what you do? So of course, like a lot of the social enterprises that my speaker before introduced, is about supporting the local economies. And in our case, it's supporting heritage preservation. So this is something that is one of our key drivers when we go out, and not just for the pure, let's say, intention to entertain people. And so wait, just hold on a second. I have to move this window. Now, when we talk about digital products, we've been thinking a lot in recent months, okay, where to start? How do we go about it? What about the short-term income? Because if you go digital, YouTube, you know, Mark Wiens, it took him 8 years to get to the level where he is today. So we cannot place any hope into building a YouTube channel that will sustain ourselves financially, but we have to start somewhere. So basically, what we do now, and it's an opportunity for anyone involved in tourism on your end, is to go virtual, to create virtual tours, to create a movie that you can communicate over Zoom, live guided, to explain what is happening in your communities, in your city. And what I do is additionally, I write blog content. So that's a bit of a challenge. Like Mark Wiens, he does one thing, he does video, right? For us, it's a bit, we are doing two things. We do actually three things. We create a digital product. We have the blog form, like a written blog, and then now we want to go also into video. So it's a bit of a challenge, I can tell you, to manage these three things. So, but what I've been now thinking is, and that's this current stage where we are at, to shift my focus on Bangkok's Chinatown. I don't know who has been to Chinatown in Bangkok before. For some people, it's just busy and chaotic, or they think, okay, where can I park my car, or where do I get the best noodles? Yeah, but it's so much more. And actually, as I mentioned before, I'm a quarter Chinese, and through blogging, through like talking to the people, through understanding what Chinatown is, I actually traced back my own Teochew roots. And so that's a picture of my grandma. She's 94 this year, and my grandfather, a picture of him. And I learned that, you know, when my great-grandfather actually migrated that I'm trying to trace the journey of my ancestors, which led through these ancient canals that you can see here on this map, because there were no roads back in the 19th century or even early 20th century. So and there's all these, what I call the frontier communities that were created. So my blog content, my digital content will hover around on the heritage aspect, but also connected to my own roots and along a journey or along routes that are not on the highway. Most people, you know, they come to Thailand, they want to see the train market for of course, you know, and then take a taxi down the highway. You see all the red dots. These are all like very beautiful, serene, tranquil, ancient communities that people usually bypass. So what is their story? And that's the mission of my team and I, to explore, to understand the past, to document the present condition, and to hopefully with you guys to build a better and more sustainable future for the communities and the people. So that's the case study, and I leave the question for you guys to ask me anything. Yeah, I'm happy. So if you want to also connect, can find us on YouTube, Instagram, or WhatsApp, whatever is convenient for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. That was such a passionate presentation on focusing on smaller communities, focusing on community stories. And the work that you're doing is so amazing. Me and my colleague, we were just saying we want to go on a tour and go drink yadong at a bar. Okay, so we've come to the section of our panel discussion. Thank you very much to Thryza and to Mike for those amazing case studies. Now joining us for the panel discussion is Nicholas Lee, who is representing the Global Peace Foundation. So Nicholas is a global peace builder, social activist with more than 17 years of global experiences. He's currently serving in the Global Peace Foundation Thailand chapter as a country representative. In 2019, he was newly appointed as the Secretary General for the Global Peace Development Service Alliance, GPDSA. GPDSA is a service-based knowledge platform promoting global collective efforts to achieve the 2030 SDGs. It amplifies the voice and the good work of local and regional service efforts that impact lives in our community and the environment. Nicholas, welcome to the discussion. Glad to have us. Glad to have.
Hi, hello everyone. Thank you, Alicia, for the nice introduction. Awesome presentation. Mike and Thryza is really like, for me, because me and Global Peace Foundation and PATA, we always talk about how tourism and peace, you know, can be in one. So today, both of you really, through your case study, the work that the incredible works that you are doing is really substantial, you know, this idea. So amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so for our audience, if you have any questions for Thryza, Michael, and Nicholas, please use the Q&A function down below to ask your questions. We already have some really good questions in the Q&A section. So panelists, I hope you're ready. Let's dive into this. I want to kickstart us with the first question, and this question really goes to Nicholas. Nicholas, can you help us understand and can you help us break down and understand on a deeper level the concept of peace in everyday life with using the case studies that we've heard today as an example?
All right. Okay, let me answer the second first. Like as a case study of today, right? So it's pretty much an amazing example. For example, Mike shared about, you know, tourism is not just a tourism like you go to the place and take a nice photos, you know, looking at the nice scenery, shopping, and then eating good food and all these things. But Mike bring all the travelers into the deeper level, the deepest level. I mean, to understand the culture, right? To understand the people way of living. Even a piece of fish ball or meatball, that is a lot of story to tell, right? That is amazing, right? So when people taste that meatball, oh my God, remember all the ancestry story and even the noodles. So I think this kind of model is really, I always call Michael on tour peace builder. I mean, he's a peace builder. Whatever he go and bring people, tell the story, inspiring people, to create kind of deeper understanding. I mean, here's the thing: is like understanding is a very key component to peace building, right? And when you travel, I mean, understanding is very important. That we call cross-cultural understanding. And then for Thryza, case study, like it bringing like even she's from India and all the way, into Nepal and able to gather so many young people, like empowering them to break the poverty change. What more, when you break the poverty change, people can bring food on the table. I mean, you solve the very foundation of peace building, right? It is very, very crucial. So talk about how to bring peace in our daily life. Let me give you 3 tips, right? Okay. So the first tip is we have to be in peace in ourselves. I mean, every day we need to be a better version of ourselves, right? Matter of you do whatever like meditation, yoga, exercise, or band here and band there, right? Anything that you do to acquire peace within yourself. If you are not in peace, then how, right? How the world is going to have peace? I mean, the first is yourself, and it's very crucial, right? And then second tips is build a better relationship with your family, your friends, the people that you're working with, or even people that you don't like, right? I mean, you try this, right? You buy a gift, you send a positive message to the people that you don't like. You try this. I guarantee miracle will happen. There is no enemy, right? Enemy is always like within us, right? We see this thing, we don't like, and this person character, but it's fine. It's not the fault, but how we can adapt, right? The situation. And third tips is peace with the environment. I mean, peace with the environment, cleanliness. Cleanliness is a big word now, especially in COVID-19, right? Cleanliness, right? Hygiene. So peace with the environment, meaning like when you travel, you don't littering, right? Litter everywhere, right? Yeah, so this is a very, basic understanding with peace with the environment, peace with anything surrounded you, that is crucial. So 3 tips, right? With yourself, with others, and with the environment. So I believe this is the daily life that we got to deal with, right? Peace on you.
Thank you so much for those tips. Like, I think that's really useful actually to just like start within yourself first and then like slowly build towards others, building relationship with others, and then building, having a positive impact on your environment as well.
Yeah, same as when you carry this habit, when you go to travel to meet anyone else, to go to any place, you have the same, right? Yeah, it's right. Okay. Yeah.
So we have a really interesting question directed for Thryza. It's from David Sanders. So he says, excellent presentation, super interesting. His question is, it's not clear how the work you do is funded. Is it self-financing, NGO assistance, international organizations help you, local government? Is it a combination of all these above? So I think having you share with us about your financial, how you guys fund yourself, that's really interesting for us to know as well.
Absolutely. So we are a company registered in Nepal, but we are part of a larger group company. And to be very honest, we are in a very comfortable spot. We are part of Saraf group of hotels, which have hotels in India and Nepal. So Grand Hyatt in Mumbai, then Hyatt Regency in Nepal, Yakineti, which is a heritage hotel, is all part of Saraf hotels. And Mr. Varun Saraf, who is also my boss, he has huge investments, not really huge, but investments in social businesses that have sustainability model or create impact. And we have a waste management company. There is something called as Sagar Mata Next, which is a educational plus waste management, like a system that is being built. It's currently in construction phase. And then there is another museum, a regular museum. Then there is Blink Ventures. So these are his social investments. There are a lot others, but in Nepal, these are the ones which primarily focus on environment and waste management. And currently we are funded by him, but we are a social enterprise, and we are working on our revenue model in terms of we work with bunch of social businesses and have been helping other guys access these entrepreneurs. We are also planning to launch in India, so that there is cross country interaction between entrepreneurs. They can learn, that there can be product exchange, and from these initiatives we will find our revenue models. So I hope that answers.
Thank you. So it does sound like there are multiple avenues of funding kind of funneling through and then helping Blink Ventures to kind of achieve what it's doing as a platform.
Yes.
Okay, so Michael, we also have a question that's directed at you. Dove Kalman wants to know, says it's a fascinating presentation. I would like to better understand how you translate your digital contents and message into a business model that works for you and your team during COVID-19 period. So you did touch a little bit on this, but could you kind of maybe tell us a little bit more on how how you're transforming everything? Ooh, please unmute yourself.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, basically, if you look at how a lot of the experience platforms are reacting to the crisis, like Airbnb experiences, they go digital, and you can find all sorts of live events, for example, in which people can join any type of classes. So I'm not going to give classes live. What we do now, our idea, and we'll see if it works out, is to pre-produce a video around the story. Let's say a video around our tour that we have done, say the Chinatown Unplugged tour, which used to be an urban heritage walk, but we create a video around it, and then we will share this video on the screen, like what we do right now, and comment live on the video on what is happening, so that we can actually engage with the viewers. They can ask questions, and so we want to do it in a creative way that shows you like behind the scenes Bangkok, the people that I mentioned, and to give you a better understanding of what Chinatown, for example, is. And so this is completely new, I think, to many of us. I did such a tour in Prague with the plague doctor. So they took us through Prague, and it was really well produced, very informative. So for people who are interested in the topic that I talked about in that tour, I think they got a lot of value from it. So, and I hope that people who are interested in Bangkok will get value from the experience that we are designing right now as well.
Okay, thank you. This question is from Tiffany Chung. She actually asked it before we aired the webinar. So thank you, Tiffany, for sending in your question. How can we convince poor villagers to put in time and effort in tourism, something that seems so remote? So I think both Michael and Thryza can give us answers and tips in terms of engaging communities right at the start. So yeah. Maybe Thryza, you want to start first?
Yeah, so I had worked with Grassroots Journeys for a year, and there are ways of engaging with communities, especially rural communities who are sort of always have a little, not really insecurity, but like a barrier about their interaction with somebody who's an outsider. They want to protect themselves. So I think the important barrier that you want to break is basically breaking the personal barrier, and you need to target somebody who is a leader in the community and not just anyone. So, and way to break that personal barrier is to give your information first. So that's the first way. Like you say, hi, my name is Thryza, what is yours? Then they feel that if you're giving information, then they are ready to give you your name. Then second thing that you do is give something more to them in terms of tell what you are doing, what your family is doing. Like if you look at village communities, it's all about relationship, it's all about personal sharing, it's all about, you know, interaction. So that's the first step towards breaking your barrier. When it comes to business, when you're trying to convince, you need to understand that they live in a very integrated or very, you know, like deep woven social culture. They're dependent on each other, they're dependent on the weather, they're depending on the environment. So whatever you're proposing, how does it affect their life in general, is something that you need to consider, and then tell them or create your proposition so that they know this is how they can break, like deal with the challenges that they're going to see. If you have a success story, then you would want to get the person who has been like, or the community who's successful in implementing your business model to their community, so that they can see that the people of their class and caliber have done it before, and it's not like a big deal for them to do. So these are things that I have learned from, you know, from working with Grassroots, consulting with them. So I hope it will help our the person who's asking the question. Yeah, I hope it solves that and gives them an answer.
That's such a good answer, because essentially you said, make yourself vulnerable first, and remember that for them change is scary. So yeah. Michael, how about you? Any tips in terms of engaging people?
So specifically on the question how to convince them that tourism could be beneficial is, so first, I don't convince people on anything. I'm first and foremost just curious about their own context, about who they are, and of course, as Trish already explained, to let them know who you actually are, what brought you into the neighborhood in the first place, and building that rapport, and then, you know, in the process to feel upon how they feel about foreigners maybe venturing into their neighborhoods, how they feel about tourism, what is their condition. And so not everyone has an understanding of tourism. And as Trisha said, often you have to, you know, talk about these issues to community leaders, and then there is different levels. So especially in urban areas like Bangkok, the sense or notion of community is very different probably from, let's say, rural India or even rural Thailand. So I think that if there is existing attempts or ideas or efforts to develop tourism, I think the first thing that could be done would probably be sort of a consultant role to them. Yeah, as said before, building trust first, understanding the situation and how they see tourism, and is there something in place? Because if you venture and you want to start something from scratch from the very beginning without experience, you know, you never know what's the politics inside the community. Sometimes even a community leader is not the real leader, he's maybe the official leader, but if you go through him, there's the person that the people really respect, but he's not the community leader. So if you go through that person, then he will, you know, so it's, you know, it's a tricky thing. Yeah, so you have to approach it with patience.
Thank you. So like everything, you have to approach it with like this long-term vision, this long-term approach. Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Nick, we have a question for you. So Dolph lives in a neighborhood where peace is more urgent than anything else. What's your vision of tourism as a practical tool to promote peace in our region? I'm not really sure which region Dolph is from, but I'm really interested to hear what your answer is.
All right. I'm also curious which region you're from. Perhaps
Israel.
Between Israel and Palestine, right? So I know this is a historical, like decades or centuries, you know, of the conflicts, you know, in between this two country or neighborhood. So actually, in the past, while I was in the peace organization, we did a few initiatives. You know, I've been in Israel in year 2004. In 2004, at that time, there is an initiative called Middle East Peace Initiative. They called upon like 500 delegates from all over Asia, you know, and working with the three main religious leaders: the Muslim, Christian, you know, and Jewish, right? So we bring them together at the same table because we want a discussion. we want them how, to bring peace, in this region, because this is the main three religions, right? They are conflicting, right? Fighting the land and so forth, and now involve military kind of thing. So, and it's an amazing, I mean, experience. I can like when I went there in both Israel and Palestine. I mean, it's not that media like describe like, wow, that is a lot of brush. Of course, that the fact is it, right? But in fact, the people there are very nice, right? So, I mean, uh, in the fact that the three main religious leaders come together, sit down and talk, and I think that is a major breakthrough. But later on, because of many other factors, a political factors, so the thing is still, happening. So what I foresee as tourism can bring peace in this case is nowadays young people is the key for me, right? A key factor. Uh, I mean, young people have to think ahead of, hey, this country, this region is we're going to manage, in the near future, right? So I think creativity, innovative, beside that is also value-based. I mean, young people can create numerous initiatives, even small. I prefer small, right? Using a technology, using internet, whatever tool, right? To spread the positive news. Look at my country is not that, worse. Our country still have a lot to offer, right? So let the world know, right? And get a support, international support, especially young people. But I don't know what is going to happen, but if we can like tell the positive story rather than telling like, oh, I hate them and so forth, right? When you are in positive, I think thing can be attracted. I think the solution will be on par, right? So yes,
Thank you so
tourists,
much for
yes, yeah.
thank you so much for bringing in this idea of like what the youth are going to do and what the youth can do, because that's another thing that we wanted to talk about during this panel discussion. So my follow-up question to that is really youth, we occupy a very specific section in society. We don't really have much power. We don't have much money. We don't have much resources. Sometimes we don't even have the networks that we need in order to succeed. But what we do have is a lot of passion, a lot of creativity, and sometimes time. We have a lot of time on our hands. Mm-hmm. So realistically, what can the youth do? What is the role of the youth in this intersection of peace and tourism? I want to throw this question out to any of you to answer. Also, you could answer, for example, Thryza, you could answer from the perspective of like the different case studies that you presented to us. Were youth part of those projects, for example? Yeah.
So to be very honest, I can speak from the more entrepreneurial side of things, because that's my area of experience. And even from the project perspective that I have shared, I feel that youth have a lot of energy. And if we look at the last few decades, we see a lot of young people coming out to try to solve a problem that exists in the society. It's not about just accepting as they are and moving on. It is about changing the rules of the game and creating their own version of things. So whether at Grassroots, it was started like a decade ago by Mr. Ainir, and he started it when he was a young guy just out of college, and he doesn't even speak the local language. Like, if even now he doesn't speak the local language, but he was able to create this huge network of villages. And I don't know how many of you know that, but India is a land of multiple cultures, multiple language, like very different food. So imagine of a young person, when he believes in something and he's passionate about, and he wants to persistently do it, he's able to do so much. And even now when I'm interacting with young people who have an entrepreneurial mindset, some of them are as young as 17 and 18, and even they don't have the network, they don't have the resources, they put up conferences, they put up events which are amazing. They are as good as any professional experience can put out. So I guess it's not about the network, it's not about the resources, it's not about anything else. It's about creativity, your passion, and your persistence, and the energies that the young people have with them. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. That's so inspirational. Thank you for being optimistic, and thank you for being encouraging to the youth. At the end of the day, all we need is just a little bit of encouragement to go a long way. Michael?
Yeah, I also agree with what Trisha said, that the energy and everything is there, but where do you direct your energy to? I think we often talk about passion. Sometimes people tell me, I don't know what my passion is. I don't know what I want to do. And so I think it also has to start with some sort of curiosity as a first step. And this year basically is our strongest weapon, the internet and the smartphone. And I think the young generation, they are so tech savvy, and with new and new tools emerging, the room to express our creativity or things that we are curious about and share to a wider audience has never been greater. So it's a time of opportunity. So if it depends, when we talk about tourism and peace, and we talk about building understanding, you can become a content creator and do it just for the sake of entertaining people, dancing around, these TikTok videos, or you can harness the technologies to build empathy, to build understanding. And I think it's especially needed in this day and age in the 21st century, as mainstream media and societies are becoming more and more polarized, and there's so much hatred and bad news out there, that we need to counteract this with content and with stories that focus more on the commonalities and the positivities. And we can start in our own neighborhood. We can start about the things that we care about, and without any expectations of making money or something, but just putting your time that you have into good and creative use. And I think that if you pursue that on a consistent basis, and you're not, afraid to fail or what others think of you, and you just go ahead and experiment, who knows, what can come about. I started Bangkok Vanguards not with a business plan or anything. I just started out because I enjoy it. I enjoy exploring. I enjoy telling stories and share what I know about Bangkok to others. And eventually, it became a company, but it did not start out with the intention to become one. So take one step at a time. Ask yourself, what is it that you enjoy doing, and translate that through your phone and share it with others.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for that answer, because it's really about just taking the chances that we have today and the opportunities that are present for us right now. And it's such a unique point in time in history for us to really make a change. And I think at the end of the day, all of us want to make a change. Nicholas, would you like to answer the same question about the role of youth in this intersection of peace and tourism?
Oh yeah, I mean, talking about just now, like money, power, resources that always young people think about, oh, I don't have this. I think the perspective is important. It's not something that, oh, I have, then I will do it, right? So it's something, is how to get it, right? You don't have money, you don't have resources, and how to get it? Are you doing enough to get it, right? Your idea, go and get the enough resources to get your idea, right, grow. So I just want to say it, right? Go and get it. Are you right? And then also ask another question is, and why people have to give you money? Why people have to give you power, right? So, and the resources, have to think through, why is that, right? So, all right, this is my little 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yes,
So kind
yes.
of like have a plan first before
have
you
a plan. Yeah, think is very important. Yeah, yes.
Okay. Thank you so much to Nick, Mike, and Thryza. We actually are running over time. Just this panel discussion has been such a fruitful discussion and diving deeper into the issues of the presentations and the case studies that I didn't want to stop it, but I'm so sorry we have to. So thank you so much to everyone who has attended. There's a really interesting quote that was given to us by attendee, Jinsu Kim. So the quote, if one person dreams a dream, it is but a dream. But if 1,000 people, if all the people of the world dreams the same dream, then that dream becomes a reality. So thank you so much, Jinsu Kim, for sending us that quote in the chat. I think all of us, we are really inspired to do something, to put our efforts and our passion and our thought together to do something. So we're really happy for that. So next slide, please. This webinar was done in collaboration with Global Peace Foundation. Thank you very much. If you want, and also Para Youth. So if you want any more information about Para Youth, or you want any information about this webinar, please contact me at ytp@para.org. That's my email address. And up next, we have this section because we have this section where we promote the upcoming events. So for Global Peace Foundation, they have an annual Global Youth Summit that's really exciting. So we're going to spend one moment, please, to watch the video that they've prepared for us.
Whenever I meet Filipinos, I see a beauty of heart and compassion.
Let us welcome one another to a global community that truly cares.
We're counting on you guys. When you fight for the planet, you fight for the people that you love.
I have no doubt that you will actually be the one to lead us in creating safe spaces, not just for you, but for the generations to come.
Be the dreamers that define what this century will be.
So that's happening this year in August. Please go to the Facebook page of Global Peace Foundation. Can I have the slide back on? Thank you. So please go to the Facebook page of Global Youth Summit to click like, follow, and you will get notifications when the Global Youth Summit is ready to launch. So this webinar was part of a larger festival called Dream to Travel Festival that Para is doing. We have several exciting things coming up next, which is a virtual happy hour sponsored by Sevilla. So everyone, please prepare your sangrias and your wine. Come to the virtual happy hour to meet people who are in the industry and want to kind of network. This is the time for networking. And next, please. We also have a live experience happening today about flamenco dancing by Sevilla, and that's going to be super exciting. I don't know if it's going to be a dance class. That's going to be really cool to see my colleagues try to learn how to dance in this room. We'll see. But join us for that live experience. This actually ties into what Michael said about how we're transforming experiences into digital experiences. So this is something that we're all doing together and all moving forward together. So next up for Para Youth, we have specific programs specially tailored for the youth. And for this fireside chat, once again, we're going to talk about the dream of being able to travel as a journalist. So you go to countries, travel, write your experiences, take photographs, and then submit articles as a travel journalist. Nori Quintos is actually the editor at large for the National Geographic travel media. So she's clearly living the dream life and has the dream job for many of us. And we are going to pick her brains and ask her questions on how can we get where she is right now, and how her career has developed and her origin story. So that's going to be a really interesting session happening at the end of this week on Friday. Thank you very much for joining us, and that's it for today. Thank you. Thank you once again to Nicholas, Michael, and Thryza for those excellent presentations and an excellent discussion as well. I really enjoyed myself today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alicia, for the hosting, and Mike and Trisha for your amazing sharing. We have many miles to go, so this is a first mile. Hi.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good day and enjoy.
And
yes. Good night.